Hello and welcome to the Last Word on Spurs. We are your multi-award winning Tottenham Hotspur podcast, and we are back on the eve of Spurs facing Manchester City in the Premier League. We'll be giving you all the latest news ahead of that game, of course, and everything that's surrounded Spurs in the last 48 hours. I'm joined by three of our wonderful top-tier returning guests to the show. If you're with us for the first time, you can find us on iTunes, we're on Spotify, we're across all major audio platforms, we're of course on X, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook too. I'm back from his very own European tour. Hopefully we're going to be going on one ourselves. James Black is back in our Spurs Stadium singer. James, how are you? Lovely to see you, bud. You okay?
Yeah, good, mate. Good. How are you?
I'm very good, mate. I'm very good.
Bounce. I can't believe it.
I know.
Yeah.
We're trying to calm ourselves down, James.
We're staying up. We're staying up.
We're staying up. We're staying up. As Jason McGovern would always tell you, was never in doubt. Also back on the show. Look, normally here for transfer opinions. We get one on an opinion panel, which is quite nice. We've got a few transfers to come later on. Don't worry. That's how we got him on this show. Jamie Brown's back from Daily Hotspur. Jay, how are you, bud? I'm fighting you for the mute button. Good to see you. Let me unmute you again if I can try.
There we go. Sorry, I was clicking it as well. I'm very good, Ricky. Obviously, fantastic that I'm, coming on to talk about another win. It's been a very long time since I've done one of these shows. I mean, it's probably been a couple of years. I think quite literally. So, no, really good, and obviously great to be in such good circumstances as well. Because really pleasing win on the weekend, and look, hopefully now we can start to kick on. But I'm sure we'll get into it.
Amen. And look, also back on the show, we'll give him the build-up as the crescendo on the show. Look, the wonderful, he's the king of X in the Spurs community. Billie T driving the change for Spurs. Bill, lovely to see you. How are you?
Yes, very good, man. I'm not used to coming on here after a win. I don't think I've ever barely done that before. Yeah, it's good, man. 3 wins in a row. Let's do it. And a great panel as well. Great to meet you guys for the first time. Good to see the voice of Spurs back again. How was your European tour, man?
Yeah, it's great, man. Yeah, it's unbelievable. Did it end up in, did America?
Did you get to Bilbao?
No.
Saving that one for later.
Yeah. I've got them flights booked though, but yeah.
Nice.
I'm one of them silly boys that booked it. No, it was great. America was amazing. Went to like Austin, Denver, Washington. That's 6 or 7 places, and I'm going back to some more as well. But it's been amazing.
You know what's interesting, James, to stick with you for a second, you'll know from being at a lot of these countries, the fact that, these Spurs fans, they get up at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, 4 a.m. to watch them. And I think we have to say to them, this has been a tough season to be getting up at 3 or 4 in the morning to watch Tottenham. I mean, just give us an idea of the passion over there, because I'm sure they absolutely adore the football club the way we adore the football club as well, even though they're so far away from the stadium. That doesn't stop how much they love the football club, right?
No, and like if the results are not going well, like you have people storming out, shouting at the telly, like it's proper Tottenham passionate fans, and the distance is what's keeping them away, especially in America. It's a long way, and they're getting up at silly o'clock. Like in Austin, I was there for the Tamworth game, and we was there having a few drinks. They called it tailgating, didn't they? We was doing that at 6 in the morning, and this is like Tamworth, like me, and there was a massive crowd there even for that. So. Yeah, it's amazing. The passion it would knock you sideways when you see it. It's unbelievable. It's great to see, man.
Yeah, no, it is. Like I say, everyone, that loves this football club will come together no matter where they are around the world. That's for sure. Bill, I know there's people urging me to ask if there's any updates and news for change for Spurs. I know you had a recent Spaces with Paul O'Keefe. Anything you want to share on here at the moment with regards to any latest news from a change for Spurs perspective?
Yeah, we're just putting the works in for our next protest. We have to plan these things in advance because it takes a lot of planning. We have to obviously do things with the police to get them verified and all that kind of thing. Unfortunately, that's the dance you got to play to pull off this kind of event. So yeah, watch this space. We've got plans coming. A lot of people keep asking about the scarves as well. They're not affiliated with us officially, but we are trying to get someone who wants to make a lot of them because we've had an incredible demand for them. So watch this space for that too. But just to be very, very clear, 3 wins in a row does not change the message. We want change for Tottenham. We can't pull the wool over our eyes anymore. We need better owners. We need better from our football club. And this season, while they hopefully could end with some fantastic glory, the message doesn't change. We want change.
Well, listen, talking about changing and the fact that we are here, like Jay, you said it's a change for you because you're here after not only not a transfer show as such, but on the back of 3 consecutive wins in the Premier League for the first time since December 2023. It's not often we've been able to say that under Ange Postecoglou. And Spurs now find themselves only 6 points off the top half of the Premier League after recording that 4-1 win over Ipswich. I know it's where I was showing this table. It's been a quite hard watch and having to see this table across the season. But of course, Spurs have the chance to make it 4 on Wednesday evening when they take on Man City in N17. I mean, Jay, what have you made of the recent uplift in form? Is it just down to the fact of having players back available and having more options that has seen us have this upturn in results? Jay, how do you feel for you at the moment in regards to our form?
Is that me? Sorry, is that me, Jay? Sorry, I was
sorry, I should say. We are going to refer to James as James and Jay as Jamie. So we've got you, Jamie's over to you. Sorry, bud.
There's too many Jays in the chat. No, obviously a big win on the weekend for us. I mean, obviously it was only Ipswich, but look, they came and got the better of us in the last game. I think obviously, we want to try and salvage some sort of Europe this season, and just try and get what we can, but. I think obviously it's largely to do with we've had that rest now. Obviously it's been relentless, that fixture schedule. We've had to play 3 games almost every week since October. It's, I think as well, people kind of maybe sometimes forget that, obviously we've had all these players out, but then there's been such a reliance on so many of them that have stayed fit. Sonny obviously got a huge amount of stick, and obviously people question whether he's over the hill. But look, he's played so much football. I think Kulusevski's obviously another one. Pedro Porro, 3 players there that we know are fantastic players. They just kind of have suffered from having to play so much. So, it's been great to kind of have a bit of respite. And obviously it really has turned that form around a little bit. And, we'll have to see whether it can continue. But I think that the signs there are positive at the moment. And it's weird. I am strangely looking forward to the next match, actually, because I thought we played really well against Ipswich. I think there was real signs of handball that we've become accustomed to. I think there was some top individual performances. Lucas Bergvall was one that just was really impressed again. Obviously, Danso coming in as well has done really well. So I think there's some positive signs there, and hopefully we can go and build on that now with a good result against City.
I know, Jay, for you, sticking with Jamie for a second, I know, Jamie, you've been fairly behind Ange Postecoglou's tenure so far at Spurs. Do you just feel that he just needs to have these players back before he can really be judged at the moment? Is that your gut feeling on it?
Well, I think the other thing as well is that, the reason I never really was wanting him out either was because there wasn't really anyone to come in. There was never going to be a suitable replacement. And I just think the circumstances were just unbelievable, to have had so many injuries. I mean, you look at the way that Arsenal have obviously dropped off when they've had injuries. There's other teams that have dropped off, but we've had them for so long. I think that's been the thing. And then obviously factor in, I said that we've got Europe as well. So we've played so many games. I think there's just been so many difficult circumstances. So now obviously he's got the players back. So hopefully now we start to see an upturn in form. And at the moment, it's going in the right direction. So hopefully it can continue. But I don't know. It's not surprised me a great deal that it has changed, because he's got options now to rotate. I mean, it was fantastic to see Pedro Porro on the bench and not have to worry about it, because you've got Jed Spence and Destiny Udogie there to play. So, it's great that he's got options now. And as I said, hopefully it now continues this form.
Yeah, fingers crossed. It's crazy to think when you look at the league table, Spurs are the Premier League's second highest scorers with 53 goals from their initial 26 matches. And they have another big, obviously, goal from Saturday when they go and knock in another 4. To put it into context for those that are unaware of this, Man United have scored 23 fewer goals in the league than Spurs. And I know the crazy thing is when people look at our goal difference, how have we got a plus 15 goal difference and yet sit 12th in the league? I mean, Bill, is there an easy answer to that? Can you understand or fathom that? Or is that just life being a Spurs fan, that you can have a plus 15 goal difference but sit 12th in the league?
Yeah, there's an easy answer to it, and it's just, that's the history of Tottenham Hotspur. We're just an absolutely crazy establishment, and to try and analyse them is impossible. Often think it could be some kind of social experiment, but if you look at that one as well, 2 places below us, West Ham on minus 17, and we're sat there plus 15. 2 or 3, 4 places below now, and look at that. It's just crazy. It is absolutely crazy. And this season has been a wild season, but it's been a really difficult one to take as well for Spurs fans. It's been like the most relentlessly hard season in terms of losses that I've ever experienced in my lifetime as a Spurs fan. I've never seen this battle be dragged into a relegation battle in my lifetime. So it's good that we're finally getting some wins on the spin, because my God, we deserve it, man. And I just really, really hope, the real things that hit hard for me this season are being out of those cup competitions because, every time that we come on here, we just want a trophy. So,
Of course.
it's great to get those wins in the league. But, as I always say on here now, I'm just firmly in that Europa League basket at the moment. That's what I want to focus on. I just really, really hope we can get something out of that because if not, we're going to look back on the season as a real negative one, I think. Mid-table in the league, no trophies. It could be a disaster.
It's interesting because there is. I know some people feeling that vibe that maybe the good thing is because and it's not a good thing. I look at that league position, I am disillusioned with it. But does that give us maybe saying that we've got to play for more because of how unacceptable our league position is? That we can hopefully have because the worrying thing. Say for example, if we were sixth in the league and we had the Europa League left, the feeling might have been that we might tail off. But the fact that our league position is so bad, Bill, could that also maybe help us on the both fronts?
I think it has to. It has to, man, because we've never been in this kind of position before at this side, relatively speaking. We've never been fighting in for the Europa League or a Champions League, while we're also not fighting in the league as well for some kind of European finish or top 4 finish at least. It's the first time this kind of thing has happened where we've been 12th and, still into the knockout stages of a cup competition, of a European cup competition. So you'd think it has to, man. But I think the worry for me is, and I don't think Ange is the type of manager that's going to rest players in the league. Like, it doesn't seem to be built that way. So I think he's going to go for both. And he's probably thinking, if he strings a few more wins together, who knows where we might finish. So, but we're never going to get a better chance to win a Europa League than this, I don't think. With all the circumstances, the teams left in it, the sort of semi-favourable draw, the quality of teams left in. It's now or never for this, I think. And if we don't do it this time, I'll struggle to see, a chance where we might do it in the future.
Yeah, the bookies have got Tottenham as the favourites for the Europa League. I always think that's a dangerous tag labeling Spurs for anything as favourites. Look, James, to come over to you. The crazy thing is about this season is that we've still not lost by more than a single goal margin to anyone other than probably going to be reigning champions Liverpool. And those past 3 Premier League matches at least show that's also starting to turn now. What's your gut feeling in, James, in terms of the form for you at the moment? Because again, I know a lot of fans have found it difficult. Look, you're having to play in front of our amazing fans when results haven't been as great. So that must be even harder to do sometimes than having to watch back some of the performances. James, what do you feel about the form for you at the moment?
The form, I'm similar to Billie. I think we should definitely just forget the league, really. But when I say forget the league, look at that 11-point gap that you got there from 33 to 44, which is like where the top 4 is. We're never getting that back. But the only good bit about that is the same gap between second and first, so they're never getting that back either. But I think we just rest your Mickey van der Vens, Romero's, anyone who's been susceptible to injury, especially Mickey with this hamstring issue, and we just put him into the Europa League games. We've got 4 ties there. We've got 4 ties to have a fantastic season, and if we win that cup, I know it's all ifs and buts, but then that's amazing. That's another European trophy. That's more success than them down the road in the last 20 years. It's a massive achievement. So I know it's loads of ifs and buts, but that's a favourable side of the tour, side of the draw, and they are winnable ties. The bookies having us as favourites, although we don't like that, they're never too far away from it. Because it's like they're never too far away from what should be happening or could happen, and they analyse it like probably just deep as we are, or maybe even further. Like it's a money game, isn't it? So they know, and what like Billie's alluded to there, we ain't fighting in the league, so we have got all the eggs in this basket, and it is time. I don't know. I don't want to be seeing Mickey van der Ven in these games, in these run up to these games in the that we've got. So I think the form's great these last 3 games, but it's nice to enjoy a win. But the league side of the season's been over for me from as soon as that Everton game. That was it. It was just
John, I'm gonna come back on that point in regards to the league form, because I know there's some Spurs fans out there I've been seeing on social media maybe alluding to the fact that can Tottenham go on a run in the league and maybe even dare end up in a Conference League place. I'm not sure everybody would want a Conference League place.
Not really. Nah,
I can say that. Well, I think obviously the club would want something with European football if they weren't to win, of course, the Europa League. But at the end of the day, I know there's obviously a lot of people, like you said, James, similar to you, that obviously are putting all their eggs in that Europa League basket. I want to come on to some of the headline news that we had over the last 24, 48 hours. And I think from what I've seen on social media, this has caused a bit of a mix there. And I'll come to Jamie. Still waiting Jamie for not really transfer news, more contractual news. We are hearing reports that Spurs have open talks with Rodrigo Bentancur over a new contract now. Despite, of course, being served with that 8-match suspension earlier in the season for those remarks about colleague Heung-Min Son, Spurs are looking to tie Bentancur down. Now, just to be clear on his contractual situation at the moment, his contract expires at the end of next season, but Tottenham are understood to have opened preliminary talks over a new deal for the player. They are said to be at a very early stage with no agreement close, but with future meetings planned in the coming weeks. We understand Spurs are willing to extend the midfielder's current deal, given his status as an integral first-team player. Jay, there'll be some on the back of that news that will be happy.
Yeah.
There'll be some that will be questioning maybe the ambition of what Tottenham are in terms of that midfield. Where do you sit on that?
Well, I mean, Bentancur is a difficult one, isn't it? Because we know when he's at his best. I mean, he's a phenomenal player, and we saw it, obviously, before the injuries. I think even before the one where he suffered at Leicester, that ACL, I think he suffered that ankle injury, didn't he? And he looked like he was going to be getting back to his best. But this year, he's just been so inconsistent. And for me, I think in the summer, if we do have any genuine ambition of doing something next season, and obviously, especially under Ange Postecoglou, a number 6 is going to have to be a priority, because for me, that's probably the hardest position to play in a Postecoglou system, because you're playing in that almost single pivot. You're being asked to do so much, and I just think that as good as Bentancur can be on his day, I just don't think we see it enough at the moment. And whether that's to do with he's obviously had all these injury issues. So for me, that is an area that I do want to go and see us upgrade in the summer. I mean, obviously, the thing as well, we're going to be well stocked in that area if we do bring another one in, because obviously we've got the fantastic talent that is Archie Gray. Obviously, has yet to play in that position, but you hope long term that's where he's going to be. Then of course you've got Bissouma that can play there. There's Lucas Bergvall, and if we don't have Europe next season, we can't keep all these players. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what they do with the number 6 position. But as I said, if we are going to have any ambition of doing something next season, I think that's an area we need to upgrade, that number 6 role where Bentancur plays. So let's see what happens. But as I said, at his best, I think he's a great player. But unfortunately, we just don't see it enough nowadays. Although I thought he was very good against Ipswich, I have to say. Yeah,
it's an interesting one. I mean, Bill, coming over to you on Bentancur, there's no doubt that when he's been at his best, he's been a formidable player for Spurs. I think we go back to that season under Antonio Conte, where I think we were looking at him thinking, this guy looks the real deal. We hope we're going to see this player for years to come. I think it's fair to say that we have seen a real inconsistency with Bentancur over the course of the last, I'd say, 12 months as a minimum. And there'll be some Spurs fans that'll be thinking, is this the right move by offering him a long-term deal? I mean, what's your take on it? Because there might be some fans reading into that. If we're going to offer Bentancur a long-term deal, maybe Bissouma, who I think's got nearly 18 months left on his deal, maybe he might be the one to part ways. What do you gauge from you on that news, Bill, that they're in talks with Bentancur over a new deal?
Yeah, I think a different couple of things. I think firstly, if he's signing a new contract now, I'm not really sure what we're rewarding him for, because I think he's been largely inconsistent this season, and then particularly unreliable. He had discipline issues, gets suspended. Obviously, he had the whole incident where he missed a number of games. He's also had quite significant injuries across the course of this couple of seasons as well. So I don't think he's someone we can particularly rely on. I think Jamie is completely right. When he's on form, he's a fantastic midfielder. I just would question how many times have we seen that this season, and to me it seems like it's diminishing returns at the moment because we're not seeing that dominating player. I think and I think another big problem is historically we've had a real trouble of shifting players that aren't good enough. And I'm not saying necessarily he's not good enough, but you're just concerned with the history of our football club that maybe, we do keep onto these sort of average to mid players for maybe too long. I think if Bentancur is going to stay, I think a couple of things have to happen. Firstly, we do need to sell Bissouma without a doubt. Like we can't keep these players. There's too many of them that aren't good enough. We need to upgrade. And, as Jamie said already, we need to upgrade as well. I think Bentancur would be an excellent squad player, but not a player. If we have true aspirations of improving on, hopefully going to win trophies, hopefully challenging for the league in the next few years, which is what we're told by our owners we're apparently trying to do. We can be skeptical about that, of course, but it's what we're told we're trying to do. Then I think we need better than Bentancur in a starting 11. I'd be happy to keep him as a squad player, but I don't think necessarily he's a player that we want to be tilting a Champions League, a team with Champions League aspirations around anymore. But happy for him to stay as a squad player, no doubt.
It's an interesting one, James, because I mean, there might be an argument that Ange has maybe failed to get the best out of Bentancur. Then you can also have that argument that he's actually been really the man of his own downfall by having that suspension that again we saw. And also, I think he picked up a reckless yellow card, if you remember, in the final minute of a Premier League game where it led to another suspension. So, I mean, where do you stand for you, James, on the status of the player? Would he be one that you'd be in favour of keeping more long term, or do you agree with the boys there that might be a position that we need to upgrade in? The ironic thing is that we keep praising Archie Gray week in, week out for his performances. We're yet to see Archie Gray in a position that we supposedly bought him for, which is a defensive mid. I mean, we hope we're going to see that at some point. What do you think, James, for you on this?
Well, I definitely agree with the lads. I think there's too many, isn't there? There's obviously he's been unlucky with injuries, but the suspensions on top of that as well, and his form has been, it's been questionable at best. And when he's good, he's really, really good. And I also think he's actually one of the dangerous players at attacking corners. He's great for that. But you take how we're playing and this high line and the defence that we're using. You need a beast of a number 6. I think you need like someone like Alessandro was for us as well. But you need a beast in there, I think, to be playing with that high line football. And I don't think Bentancur is that player. You can get him get good games, but he's way too inconsistent. Yeah, obviously he's been unlucky with injuries, but the suspensions as well. That's a silly game to play. I don't think he's the player to, as Billie and Jamie have both said, to be moving us into the next level. Then he's not like I don't think he'd get into the top 4 team as a number 6, and I think that's a good marker for where we need to be going, and we need an upgrade there. Yeah, I agree with the boys. Need an upgrade, but I'd love to see him. I think what we're going to have to see, especially with these injuries, we're going to have to be seeing 20 to 20 odd players that are really good, not just coming in as fringe players.
100%.
I'll just go off this a little bit, but the luxury of what's happened this season for next season is we've got all that experience now to lean on for next season, like your Bergwijn, Archie Grays, Spence coming in. Obviously, I'd see Spence as a starter now anyway, but that luxury is through all this bad things that the injuries happened. We have got that a little bit, but in answer to your question, no, I don't think Bentancur's a starter for me in next season. Hopefully, more of a squad player and an upgrade on him.
Yep, Crackers, bless him. We don't have a dustman in the middle. Maybe Gray will be that player next season. I just say the Crackers, his son is one step closer to being a Spurs goalkeeper. Crackers' son was making his was up in the Spanish regions, can I just say, making his debut for a Spanish side. I won't say too much, but keep an eye on Crackers' young son. Will he be a goalkeeper for Spurs one day? I'm not sure if Crackers will hate me for suggesting that or back me for suggesting that. He might not want his son to play for Tottenham on the back of a back or a back five. Sorry, Crackers, if I put your son towards Tottenham as a link, that's not my fault. Jay, gut feeling for you, I was going to ask you if there's one midfielder you're going to see being sold this summer, bearing in mind Bentancur might renew, who would you say it's going to be?
Bissouma. I think it's a real shame, Bissouma, that hasn't quite worked out, because I remember when we signed him. I mean, it was obviously obviously a transfer on Daily Hotspur. It was one that kind of came out of nowhere, which is very unlike Spurs to have announced it like that. But the excitement from that deal was incredible, because it was a top level Premier League player. I mean, he'd been doing really well at Brighton, and you kind of thought that maybe you've got a guy there that could come in and hit the ground running. I mean, obviously, I think we've spoken about who might come in. I mean, there's a guy in the comments, I think it's Colin in the comments, Baleba at Brighton is another holding midfielder who...
I know, you name-checked him to us a few days ago in our group.
Yeah, he looks... Yeah, I mean, no, obviously the name's definitely out there now. Obviously, they're on the screen. Colin, he looks like a really good shout, but look, we'll see. I mean, Bissouma's the one that's got to go, though. Unfortunately, just hasn't worked out for him. He's not quite become the player that we all thought he would be. So it'll be Bissouma. Obviously, Johnny Cardoso. I know obviously your favourite name, Ricky.
Johnny Cardoso.
There is. Obviously, maybe he's one that might come in as well, but we'll see. So Bissouma, unfortunately, is the one that's got to come.
You know what, I've got to say, I mean, Sarr is a player that I really had high hopes for this season in the second season. I think that's another one that I've just not seen enough from him. I know he was obviously away in the summer at an international tournament, and maybe that's what also set back his development to some degree. But I think this is the shame that I think we had such high hopes for someone like Sarr to come through. And to be fair, it's been a lot around the fact that we've seen Bergwijn that has shined as the games have gone on throughout the season. Archie Gray's another one. I mean, Bill, will we ever see Archie Gray as a defensive midfielder? Or would he be likely to see him in goal, as Ange suggested, rather than seeing him as a defensive mid?
It certainly looks that way at the moment, doesn't it, mate? I mean, yeah, it's a real. The thing is, we've got so many bodies in there, but we don't really have anyone in there particularly that is, it's the first name on the team sheet. I think you could make the case right now. Probably Bergvall's would be the one midfielder that we have that you would want to be starting every single game. I think all the rest you kind of mix and match in. Obviously, if you count Kulusevski as a midfielder, that's probably a different question. But I thought Bergvall was absolutely brilliant at the weekend. I thought he was outstanding, probably his best game for us. And that's where you sort of take a chance. And I think Archie Gray's just unlucky in the fact that he can play centre-back, and we've had no centre-backs all season. He's kind of fought his way into there, found his way into there. And because he's been so good and so sort of unnoticeable that it's not his favoured position, he's ended up playing there basically all season now, which is crazy, really. And I think you wonder what would have happened if he would have given Bergvall's chance in midfield. And Bergvall's taken those chances with both hands, and he's not going to let it go now, because I think he's starting to do things on that midfield that really, really special and really, really significant. And I'd say at the moment, of the sort of Bissouma, Bentancur, Sarr, and Bergvall quartet, or whatever, how many players that is. I'm a maths teacher, I should know that, but I can't count off the top of my head. Bergvall is the only one that's sort of really staking the claim to be here starting next season for me at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, look, Maddison, to be fair to me, he's had a little bit of an uplift, it's fair to say, in terms of his form. I mean,
definitely.
Maddison's actual GA is actually quite positive, isn't it? I mean, it's interesting, he mentioned during the week that Thomas Tuchel has touched base with him with regards to a potential England call-up. I mean, James, it's funny with Maddison. I've never... With Maddison, for me, I think his stats are really, really impressive, especially this season. My biggest thing against Maddison so far in the Spurs shirt is that when the going has got truly, truly tough, I've not seen him enough get us through those games. Those games that I'm referring to really is the kind of games where we're 1-0 down at home. Well, 1-0 down at home to Ipswich, with, or dare I say, I think 2-1 down at home to Ipswich, games like Brighton away. There's games where arguably you need your leaders, you need your players. If James Maddison's going to be an England player, you want to think there's a real standard you've got to be by being an England player. And look, don't get me wrong, Maddison's goals and assists have been really impressive. But what I want to see from James is that consistency when we're dealing with adversity, he's got to get us through that. Is that how you feel, James? Am I being harsh on Maddison there?
Well, that's your job. That's your job, isn't it, James? Jesus. I mean... Yeah, I'm seeing the same. Like in the big games where we needed the experienced players, he did go missing. I actually think the same with Sonny. Where we really needed them, when we was down to our bare bones, he didn't really step up to the plate for me. And he's better than what he's playing at the minute. Like it's not. But we don't know. Like the life of an elite footballer that are going through what they've gone through, and although he's not got the injuries as the rest of the team. Like. The batteries they must be running. I think Kulu mentioned like his form's going down a bit now. He's saying he's running on 50-60% battery, and what that does when Ange wants to press in, like maybe that sort of thing has come into play a little bit. But I've actually not seen enough, or what I wanted to see from Maddison since he actually signed overall. So it's not just this season for me. He's had some fantastic moments, but if I had to choose for somebody in the number 10, I'd choose a fitter Kulusevski than Maddison if they're both fit at the same time. Kulusevski over Maddison. What Kulu did when he was at full tilt as the number 10 excited me a lot more than what Maddison done. But Maddison, let's be fair, these last two games he has had a real upturn. That work for Spence's goal was special, and he's got that in the locker, isn't he? I remember when he first signed, I was thinking, well, that's the end of our free kick problem, and he's not really turned up there. Like he was bashing them in, wasn't he, for less? And we had our free kicks.
Listen, we were in plans. It's what we do. We've got the tag for it. Don't worry about it. You got to be good about it. You come here, we'll take it out of your game. Don't worry.
But we thought that, didn't we? Like, I'm not alone there. We thought that was the end of the free kick issue. But don't get me wrong, he's had some amazing dead ball situations. But he's another one for me that I would put down. Report card as underperformed for what we expected from him. But I will say, and I do think this, we don't know what it's like as an elite footballer down to the bare bones of just how tiring that must be every 3 days playing pressing football. I definitely think that plays a part as well. Remember his goal in Europe, that was amazing. He's got these skills in him, but
James said the same thing, hasn't he? James said the same thing, James, didn't he? That the fact that the matter is that it's really hard to explain what that is like for elite footballers when they are having to play every 3 days.
And it's not like and it's not. And I put a little bit down on Ange. Like he's been stubborn, I think, way too stubborn to not change his ways when he probably should have been down to the bare bones and everyone tiring. That is when you start to think, why has he not got that in the locker? Why has he not got the plan B and C when he can see how tired these players are? That is on Ange for me. That one thing definitely is. But we don't know what it's like, and that must be. But the one thing you've got to say, these players are still played for him. They still played for him, and there's something in that. Because if you lose the dressing room, you can tell, can't you? But they were still doing 100%. It for him.
Yeah.
They all believe in it and believe in his way. But he's underperformed for me at Maddison overall.
I just want to, Jay, to finish off on Jamie, to finish off on Maddison. Do you think it was a case that at the time we sold Harry Kane, there was such a fanfare made about Maddison coming in, taking his shirt, that maybe the expectations were that James was going to be this player that was, not going to replace Harry Kane, but almost be that kind of main man at Tottenham, and it just never has really materialised. It may still materialise. Look, the reality is that, as we know, James has shown in glimpses what he is capable of. I think the big question is whether he can do it on a consistent basis, Jamie. That's the case, right?
Yeah, obviously when he came in, I think it was the most excited I'd been for a signing really since I think Gareth Bale returned. So it was a really, really big signing. I think he was, similar to Basuma. It was a guy who you felt would come in and hit the ground running. And, he started off really well. Yeah, it's just the consistency issues. As well, I think he's had issues trying to keep himself fit. Obviously we saw, I think it was I can't remember, it was a groin issue maybe that or a calf issue that he suffered. It's just like these small little niggles that he's had, where maybe he's just kind of not been able to stay fit. And obviously, when you keep having those chopping where you're in and out of the team because of injuries, that's then really difficult to keep your form. So maybe there is some sort of slight injury issue where he can be a bit prone to picking up the odd nickel, as I said. So we'll see. I think as well, he was superb against Ipswich. If you can get the Maddison like that, you've got a fantastic player. So let's see what he can do. Hopefully he can keep himself fit now. And it's just what an option to have. James Maddison and Kulusevski in that number 10 role. I think to have that option to rest between them. Obviously swapping Kulu as a right winger. So it's just great that we've got these options now. So we'll see. But it's just great that he's back at the moment, and hopefully he can continue this form. But we'll see.
Yeah, I so agree. What we are going to do, we're going to squeeze in our first break of the show for our listeners on audio. Thank you so much, guys, for your support. We've got over 4,000 that are watching the show live, as always. Thank you so much for your support for Last Word on Spurs. I'm joined by Jamie Brown on a non-transfer show, although we've got a few links to throw him his way very, very soon. Of course, over at the Daily Hotspur. Go and check Jamie out for all the latest Tottenham news over there. We're joined by Spurs' stadium singer, who is back, can I tell you, in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium for this coming Wednesday. He's going to be located at the White Hart Bar, Level 5, Block 525, 6:30 p.m. UK start. James, have I got that right? Anything you want to add on that? We're going to use you on mute for us, bud.
Sorry, mate. Yeah, hopefully that mute me on the night and all. 6:30 p.m. start. Although a few might want me mute. But they've moved it a little bit earlier now, so they're starting it off just about 20, 30 minutes earlier from now until the end of the season, I think, the music. So 6:30 start. White Hart Bar, Level 5, Block 525. Just going to be playing Super Kevin Danso for 2 hours on repeat.
That's lovely. Look, that is really that is a player that really, to be fair to him, I know he had that slight mistake against Ipswich for one of the for the goal. I think he's done brilliant, Kevin Danso, since coming in. Because there was a lot of talk around the fact Jason called him Desperate Danso because of the fact we signed him very, very late into the window. But I think he hasn't really put a lot of steps wrong in the way he's played so far. He's almost showing that kind of warrior-like, defensive person you want. And bearing in mind, just to bring into that, we have heard some news in the last 24 hours that Romero, wait for it, he's gone back to Argentina. No, there is some Argentinian games coming up. That's probably why he's back in training. But Romero has been spotted at Hotspur Way back in training. Look, people will read into that what they will. Obviously, Anne just said on a number of occasions now when it comes to Mickey van der Ven and Christian Romero that he's going to monitor those players and has refused to really put a return date on it. All that Ange has committed to so far is the fact that he hopes both of them are going to feature in Spurs' upcoming round of 16 ties against AZ Alkmaar. So we'll keep an eye on that. I'm sure none of us are surprised that with Argentinian fixtures on the horizon, Romero is back in training. What do you want to read into that one? I'm not too sure.
Do you think, just quick, would you put that Danso above Dragusin so far in the pecking order, or do you not really?
Oh, from what I've seen, yeah. I think from what
I mean,
from what I've seen from Danso so far, yeah. And the thing again with Dragusin is that it's really hard because I mean I'm seeing similar conversations with regards to Matty's Tell at the moment, who's played around 270 minutes. It's amazing, isn't it? Nowadays, how quickly footballers are written off. I mean, I remember back in the day when Adebayor played for us, you just clap him to try and get him to run. Now we're in a situation where we're writing players off in the space of 2 or 3 games. I mean, just on this conversation, I mean, is that right, James? To stick with you, Matty's Tell, should we be writing him off 2-3 games in?
Well, I do agree with the fact that he hasn't been good enough, and I do agree with the fact that he had a bad game against Ipswich. But there is a big gap between the German league and the Premier League, and he's getting used to it. There was even, and the guy that we're lauding right now, Berival, when he started, he had a couple of stinkers at the start, but he's absolutely incredible. And he's brilliant. I think it's getting used to the pace of that league and being at a young age. I think we do have to cut him a bit of slack. But if I'm being completely honest, I hadn't heard a lot about him beforehand. I ain't one of these people who just say, like, yeah, he was amazing. I hadn't really heard of him before. So I don't really know. But I do think it's too soon. I remember Sonny had that's the police came to me, is it?
It's not Romero again, is it?
Yeah. Just the ambulance going past with Van Postogly's driving it. I mean, no, I think it's too soon to say. Yeah, I think cut him some slack. 19 years old. Yeah, he looks up for it. Let's give him a shot. But I can't wait till Solanke's back as well, though. I think he's one of the biggest out of them injuries that we're really missing.
Oh yeah, 100%.
That punt for somebody to hold it up the front. Massive thing to be losing. Yeah.
Well, you're getting requests, James, so when the form does pick up under Matty's Tell, can you make a song for Matty's Tell to the Anita Ward song "Ring My Bell"? I'm sure you can fit some lyrics in there.
Sing that song. Can you sing it for me, Ricky? First.
I don't know the song. Anyone know the?
I know the song, but I'm not singing it. I'm not singing it. But I do know. I'll leave that to you, James. But I'm not singing it.
We'll throw Bill back round cast and get him a few lagers, and then we'll bring him back on for the.
I want to say one thing as well, especially to James, like. How do we get a better chance at this football club? I remember sitting with my dad when I was a kid, literally 4 or 5 years old at Tottenham, and we were singing super to every single player that we had pretty much back then. Still going on years later. I got my friend John Murray, who's got some good Danso charts up there, big up to him. But how do we get a better chance for Kevin Danso than super Kev? Because come on, man.
Yeah,
uncreative fan base.
Do you know what I've found? I think you guys would be the same as well. There's nothing better than the magic of like being in an away bar and somebody sort of like getting a chant together and getting that going. That's something like that. I think is nice and organic for a lot of these chants. But let's do a duet, Billy. We'll do a duet, me and you.
I've got some good lyrics for Dancer that my friend sent me. I'll forward them on to you.
Send them over. It's not Tiny Dancer, is it? I've seen that one.
Not Tiny Dancer, yeah. It's slightly different. Yeah.
Jay, you were shaking your head there, Jamie, about the fact that you feel Danso is it fair to say much more better equipped to the system than Radu Dragusin so far? Is that your gut feeling so early in?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a shame with Dragusin because I remember at the start we were all well on board with him. He looked like a really good defender. I think it's become quite quickly apparent that maybe he doesn't fit the system particularly well. I mean, look, Ange's system is so attacking and we play such a high line, so it does suit specific central defenders. Obviously, a lot is being asked in terms of on the ball as well. I mean, against Ipswich on the weekend, no player had more touches than Danso. He had 106, which is crazy amount. I think he completed something like 84 passes or so. So, there's a lot being asked of them on the ball. We know that Dragusin, he's just a bit of a disaster, unfortunately, in possession. Danso, I mean, my word, yeah. I mean, again, I hate getting carried away too early on, but there was some brilliant moments throughout that game. I think there was one moment where it was a clip was going around on Twitter. It was like Prime Ange ball was back. I think he kind of received it on the edge of his penalty area. Did like almost a Cruyff turn, charges up the pitch, and then starts an attack. So he looks like a really good fit. I was watching Ali Gold's video as well, and he was just saying that he seems to have fitted in really well into the dressing room as well. He seems like a great character, obviously someone who's lived in this country for a long time as well. So obviously great that he speaks the language so well. That obviously really helps. And and Ali was kind of suggesting that he might kind of be made into that leadership group already. So it kind of shows you that, you know, he was having an impact on the pitch in terms of performances and, you know, his attitude and obviously leadership in the dressing room seems to be a big factor. But look, he's an experienced player. He's 26 years old. You know, he's played Champions League football for Lens. So, yeah, it looks like a really good signing. I know, obviously, it looked like he was going to be going to Wolves, but there was a lot of interest in him in January. I think I think he came very close to joining Juventus as well. That was another move that he was linked with. There was some other top European clubs. Unfortunately, I don't write them all down, but I know that Juventus was definitely one where we came pretty close to signing. So he was very highly rated, and obviously it did come late in the window. But yeah, I think it's just looked like it's been a really good signing so far. But as I said, you know, with Dragosin, again, I think there's a comment in the comment section. 22 years old, so he is a young defender, but it's that ball playing ability, and I don't know whether he can fit into that high line. But as I said, Danso just looks like a good fit at the moment. So
does make you wonder if we'd have signed Danso early in January, how different would the season be now? Do you know what I mean? And I think that's the frustration with the way that we spent so long taking it, you know, on deadline day to sign a player of that quality. If we sign him on 1st of January, what's our season looking like now? Who knows?
Yeah. Well, listen, we had 9 points, 9 points, 12 points available. It can't into that conversation there. It kind of steers me nicely, Bill. You mentioned if we did get him in earlier and how it would make a difference to the table. And look, Spurs currently, I know you can't believe this, guys, scratch your eyes. Spurs are currently on the longest winning run in the Premier League. Yeah, we've turned it upside down in terms of the form charts right now. So obviously Saturday's win restored us up to 12th. The next gap to be closed is the 4 points to 11th place Brentford. And then you're looking at the fact that they are 6 points from a spot in the top half and 9 points behind 7th place Aston Villa, who have played a game more, and 10 points behind 5th place Bournemouth. I think we can safely say, as James touched upon and Bill as well, that we're also 16 points above 17th place Ipswich. So as Jason said at the weekend, even if he was to lose every game between now and the end of the season, I think we can maybe safely say Spurs won't get relegated. But I just wonder, guys, very quickly, like a yes or no on this for you. Is there any chance you see Spurs sneak in any form of European football through the league? Because I think down to 8th, which is Aston Villa on 42 points, that would currently earn you a Europa Conference League spot. Is it unthinkable we could go on a run and try and get something with Europe through the league? Look, we want, obviously, of course, Spurs to win the Europa League, don't get me wrong, but in terms of league form, Jamie, to come over to you, do you feel that's doable, or do you feel it's going to be hard to find that consistency in the league?
Well, I mean, look, we've obviously seen some of those teams in that top 4 or 5 dropping points. I mean, Bournemouth suffered that shock defeat on the weekend at home to Wolves. Chelsea look like they're in a real wobble at the moment. Obviously, got 2 good fixtures coming up, but you know, it'll be really interesting to see how they get through there. So, you know, there is a lot of inconsistency amongst those teams at the moment. But look, we've obviously got to continue to keep proving that ourselves. I think we've got a really, really interesting test on Wednesday just to kind of see where we're at. You know, regardless of how Man City have been doing, you see they're still in that 4th place spot. So I think it's going to be a really good test for us. And we've got some interesting games as well in terms of, obviously, we've got to play Bournemouth, Chelsea, you know, Nottingham Forest, so and Villa as well. So that they're all teams that we have chances to take points off them. But you know, I think we've all kind of agreed. Look, obviously the focus should be on winning that Europa League. There is a great chance there, and you know, obviously Daniel Levy loves Champions League football. I think it is going to be, as much as I said there is a chance, I think it's highly unlikely. So I'd love to see Ange Postecoglou try and convince him to allow him to maybe prioritise that Europa League, but we know that unfortunately the club never likes that being the way. So we'll see. But I said we've got to play those teams. So there's a chance. But let's see how we do against Man City.
I'm intrigued to know, Bill, just from what you feel, what would Daniel Levy be saying to Ange Postecoglou right now about the state of the season? Would he be suggesting it's all in on the Europa League, or do you think there will be a case where, as I suggested, for the club, they will still want to finish as high as possible in terms of the Premier League? Because, as you know, the revenue per place is still making quite a difference. And I think the reality is that they don't want to be in a situation where if they weren't to win the Europa League, they have no form of European football, which I think could be a bit of a problem for us. You know, we've got quite a big squad. So, you know, we go back to what Aaron said in his first season about not having European football and then having to try and give players time. I mean, if we don't have any European football next season, we've got quite a bloated squad then to deal with in terms of the Premier League. So what do you think the vibe would be in terms of what's being said behind closed doors, Bill, for you?
Almost certainly it will be try and get as high as you can in the league. That's just the way that our owners operate, and they've always shown that. They sack managers when there's no chance of finishing in Europe, and they keep managers until there is. Like that's their goal. And I think it's a bit different slightly now because you've got the Conference League. I think if you offered it to Daniel Levy as that or nothing, he would definitely take the Conference League. I don't think fans are particularly interested in playing the Conference League at all. I don't think even the Ange or the players will be either. But the fact is, it'll be 10, 20, 10, 15 extra home games or whatever it will be, ridiculous games that we play in those competitions, particularly if you had qualifiers. I think the Champions League spot should go to 5 places this year because the Italy teams are all out. And then I think, then the conference come down to 9th, is that true? And then,
possibly, it can potentially go as far down as 9th. Yep.
So, I think Daniel Levy will certainly much rather finish in that than without it. But, I don't try and speak for every fan, but I think, certainly from my own perspective, I just want to win a trophy. I want to win that Europa League. I could not care less about the difference between finishing 12th and 9th or even 12th and 4th. I just want to win that trophy.
Yeah, I mean, James, you said earlier you feel the league's a bit of a write-off. Is that how you feel gut feeling wise that now it's going to be very, very hard to get any further up? Or do you think we can break into the top 10 and dare alone look at some of the higher place finishes in the Premier League?
Well, I think if, isn't it, I don't know all the permutations, but getting to 9th, isn't it like if Villa win the Champions League as well and they finish outside, doesn't it all drop down one place as well? Or I don't know how long it drops down for.
I think at the moment the permutations are, if all those things were to happen where the English clubs in European competition, if they were to win the respective trophies,
does that mean us as well though?
Yeah, that would be us as well. I think it would go down. It would go down as far as 9th, I'm led to believe. I don't think it would stretch down to 10th. I think it would go as far down as 9th.
Right.
So I mean, I just wonder. Look, when you're looking at that fact, if it drops down as far as 9th, we're on 33 points at the moment. We were 7 off Brighton in, like I said, 9th. What's your engagement for you?
Well, there's 2 answers for me. One is whether we can. I would say yes. Whether I want to, I don't particularly want the Conference League, to be honest. I don't think there's much in that. Even if we go on to win it, I know it's a trophy and we're desperate for trophies and stuff. But I don't see. I didn't see when West Ham were winning it going, oh, that's amazing for them. And do you know what I mean? It's not like it's a big thing. So I put all my eggs in that Europa League basket. I think, like I said before, you just rest them players. You don't have Van de Ven in the league anymore, just in case something happens. That's how much I would do it. But that's me personally. Whether the club would do it and whether Ange is doing it is another catfish. But I don't think you will see the full strength going gung-ho in the league. I don't think you'll see that. I think you'll see a lot of substitutions, resting, looking after people's minutes. I think you'll see a lot, because he does that a little bit now anyway. Now we're getting our squad back, like around the 60-minute mark, don't you? We start to see 2 or 3 changes, and you'll see. I think you'll see quite a lot more of that. And I do, whether he's told or not, I still believe personally that Ange will have a lot of his attention on them 4 ties that can make him a legend of the club.
Yeah, absolutely.
For that, I don't care. 14th, 15th, I don't care. If we win that Europa League, I really don't care. Because nobody else will remember it either. No,
we made this one. We managed Postecoglou. If he wins Tottenham Europa League, he's Spurs' most successful manager in the last 16, 17 years. You can't deny that in terms of what Spurs have won. Jamie, I want to come around to you. We've had a few, it's integrated all the time. We're getting a few transfer links coming through. Let's run them past our chief transfer correspondent, Jamie Brown, over at the Daily Hotspur. Jay, a player that has been mentioned on the grapevine, one that I'd be keen to get your interest in, is Adama Lookman. He had a public row last week with Piero Gasparini. Spurs reportedly sent scouts to watch him in action against Arsenal in the Champions League back in September of 2024. He's had 10 goals and 5 assists across 19 league games so far. What's your take for you at the moment, Jay? Is that a player that you could see Spurs moving for? And if I can couple that as well, there has been a couple of reports linking Leroy Sane back to the Premier League, maybe Tottenham being a potential destination, with the fact that that would be on a free transfer.
Yeah.
Any feeling for you, Jay, on these 2?
Sane is an interesting one. I know, obviously, John Wenham from Lily White Rose, I think he'd love this sort of transfer. He always bangs on about wanting to get that experience in the squad. And, I think that could be maybe an important factor to have someone like that. Obviously, we've seen kind of, his time at Bayern, obviously done very well there. So maybe a player like that in the squad would be a good addition. But I don't know. I think that he's kind of declined quite significantly. I just question whether, you know, he'd come into the Premier League now. I don't think he's quite as quick as he once was either. So, yeah, I probably wouldn't be looking at him either. Ademola Lookman, I mean, obviously had that fantastic Europa League final performance against Bayer Leverkusen last season. You know, this year he's continued. He's been fantastic form again. I think he's got something like nearly 20 goals and assists this season. So, been in fantastic form for Atalanta. I don't know. He's 27 now. I think he mostly plays off the left, and I don't know. I see us getting a link with a few left wingers still. I know obviously Jamie Gittins at Borussia Dortmund, obviously a very talented Englishman there as well, was another one linked. I don't know. I just think we've got a lot of left wingers. Obviously Min-hyuk as well at QPR on loan there. Mikey Moore, Wilson Odobert, who I've got very high hopes for. Obviously, still Sunny there as well. So, I don't know. I'm not sure about another left winger, and that's what Ademola Lookman would be. I know I said he can play maybe as a centre forward, but yeah, I don't know. I think if we are looking for a forward, it probably would be potential backup for Dominic Solanke, although I think Tel will eventually offer that, and maybe a really top right winger. That's maybe the other position I'd look for, not a left winger, which, as I said, Ademola Lookman would be.
Interestingly, another player, James, over to you, that Spurs have been linked with apparently towards the summer will be Matthias Cunha. I think you've spoken about him before, James, about how much you have rated him previously on this show, Cunha. He's done really well for Wolves. I think many were surprised to see him actually sign an extension a short time ago. But there's an understanding that I believe he's got around a 62 million release clause that could be triggered at any point in the summer that would free him of that contract. I mean, is this the kind of player, James, you feel would elevate Spurs or would help elevate Spurs to a level where they've got a fairly decent midfielder coming into the team?
Whether they elevate, I don't really know. I mean, yeah, I'm a fan of his. I think he's great. But I'm just the same as Jamie there. I think my position I'm looking for is this right winger, like a world-class right winger, and twinned with a little bit of experience. That sort of position for me. So I think we've got quite a lot of people in that midfield area at the minute now. I think we've got enough to apart from getting a beast number 6, I think number 8 and number 10 roles, we've got quite a lot of midfielders that are battling for each other there. So I don't think that would be a priority for me. I want to see a fast right winger that's kind of world class with a bit of experience. That's like the missing part of the jigsaw for me. I was just thinking then, when everybody comes back, how strong will we look, and for next season, etc., and going forward, and where would I want to target? And that's where it would be for me. It's right winger. Whether Tel gets up to speed enough so he's part of that backup for Solanke. Otherwise, I want to see a backup for Solanke. But no, I'm not too desperate for more in midfield. But then again, I suppose it depends what happens with Bissouma and Bentancur, whether it's so much of an upgrade. I mean, I think Bissouma's dropped down a lot, and Cunha would be an upgrade in the midfield area. But the position I want to see is start strengthen the forward line now. Yeah,
it's interesting. I mean, you talk about the forward line there. If I just go back to Tel for a second, Jamie, come over to you. He only had 7 touches of the ball against Ipswich. You know, I'm very, very cautious of writing players off so early on. You know, we saw the impact he could make when he came off when he played in the game against Aston Villa, where obviously he scored. Obviously, we didn't win the game, but he took the goal really, really well. I mean, as we said earlier, it's got to be a period adjustment, right, before we start coming to the conclusion that Tel's good enough, right?
No, 100%. I think James mentioned it as well, where, you know, he is still 19 years old. I think people forget that, obviously. You know, we've not paid that fee yet, but it looks like we're probably going to pay, about £50 million from eventually. So it is a very expensive player. So people will look at that and kind of expect a lot. But, you know, he's still very young. You know, he's at the same age as Lucas Bergbaum, and obviously been a lot of understanding with him in the early stages. I think it's just a physicality problem at the moment. He just looks quite slender and kind of that build. So I think he's going to need that chance to kind of really bulk up and get used to the Premier League. But the talent's there for sure. You know, I know the club have obviously liked him for a very long time. I remember when we were selling Harry Kane to Bayern Munich, we were strongly linked with Matthias Tel then, but Bayern were I remember they were very firmly wanted to keep him at the time. Obviously, was still very young, promising player, and now obviously he's had another season where it didn't quite happen for him. He didn't quite get those opportunities. I mean, he's been so unfortunate. You know, he's had to sit behind Harry Kane and Robert Lewandowski. So yeah, it's been tricky for him. I think as well, he's best off one of the wide positions. I know obviously there was a lot of talk from Germany that he was going to come in and maybe be a centre forward, and maybe, you know, in further down the line, maybe he does turn out to be that, because we saw that fantastic finish against Aston Villa. But yeah, just in terms of, you look at his build, he looks more like he's going to be better suited out wide, and yeah, hopefully it can be that right wing position, because as I said, that is an area where, along with that number 6, maybe that's where we do need to upgrade the most.
Yeah, final one on this roundup is Tottenham are reportedly willing to sell Maddison on a permanent deal come the summer. There's reports that both Leeds United and Everton are the two sides that are showing an interest. I mean, James, come over to you. He's had a fairly good spell with Leeds, actually. And in terms of his output, you know, I think it's a difficult one with Manor. The problem, obviously, as we know, he got injured. We never really got to see what he was about during his time at Spurs. I mean, do you feel that'll be another one that will get a chance in pre-season to show what he can do, the same as Jed Spencer, the chance to show what he can do? Or do you think it might just be a case where Spurs will send him completely out the door come the summer? What's your gut feeling on it for you, James?
Gut feeling is that I think that Leeds, the club and the fans love him, and I think there'll be a significant enough bid to turn the board into that, making that happen. And I also believe that he's not quite good enough for what we want to achieve. I don't think he's, again, like, I'm trying to think when you bring his players in, it was like, is that player going to help us get into the top 4? Is that player going to help us challenge for trophies? And for me, Maddison is not that. No disrespect to the player, but he's not that. I know he's having incredible form there at Leeds, and good luck to him. But it's there is a bit of a gulf between the Premier League and what is it, the Championship they're in. So yeah, I think he's probably best suited getting a nice amount of money from him, enough, because Leeds have come on and said they love him as well, don't they? Not just the
they
board,
do.
But
they most certainly do.
So I think it's a good outcome for everybody that he does move on, and yeah, good luck to him. That sounds like a press answer, doesn't it?
No, I mean, look. I mean, Jamie, it's interesting. I mean, Jamie, come over to you on Maddison. There's no doubt that he's been a real key figurehead in Leeds United's push for promotion. And like James said there, the chances are they do get up, then they'll want to make that deal permanent. Do you feel we've been too quick to dismiss what Solomon could bring to the Spurs side? Or do you think the reality is, I know when we first signed him, again, I saw a mixture of different feelings that, is this player good enough to play for Tottenham? But then at the same time, you know, he's ripping it up in the Championship. Is that his level, or will we never get to know really the full story on this one?
I think he can be a decent Premier League level. I don't think he's going to be quite good enough for where, obviously, ultimately Spurs want to be. I mean, I think he looks like a pretty solid winger. I mean, his numbers this year have been pretty decent for Leeds. He's got 7 goals, 7 assists in the Championship, 27 games played. Started tonight as well. I think they won 3-1. So, yeah, he's obviously a key player for them. And look, hopefully it'll be a nice, easy flip, because obviously we didn't get him for anything, obviously quite controversially. And if we were to get a fee for him, that would obviously be pretty decent. But yeah, I think he is one that will get moved on. You know, I think there is a few comments coming in saying that he has found his level. So yeah, I would agree. I think that he's one to move on.
Well, listen, what we are going to do, we're also going to move on. We are going to go for our final break of the show for our listeners on audio. Taking into that break, you're going to hear from the wonderful Athletics Sam, who's going to give us a preview of Spurs' upcoming fixture against Manchester City in the Premier League. And we know for Tottenham, the potential of beating Manchester City would mean, it's quite a staggering stat that, you know, having already beaten City twice while defeating Manchester United 3 times in 24-25, Spurs could become the first team to ever beat both Manchester Giants on 3 occasions in a single campaign. Now, Spurs are going in search of their 4th straight Premier League win for the first time since October 2023. That was when Ange Postecoglou was working his magic at the very start of that season, if you remember. And Spurs had the opportunity to also have, you know, clean sheet-wise, 3 in their next 4. So it's interesting how they'll make it work. Spurs have scored in a straight 18 matches at the Spurs Stadium, with Man City's own 16-game scoring streak home and away in all competitions coming towards an end. after that defeat to Liverpool at the weekend. Look, it's fair to say City aren't in the greatest run of form right now. James, what's your feelings going into this game against City? Because, it's one of those teams that, as Tottenham fans, we're not normally worried to play, which sounds weird saying that about 4-time champions Man City on the spin. What's your gut feeling going into it, James, for you?
Gut feeling, very mixed. Erling Haaland, not too sure if he's going to play because he wasn't even in the squad, let alone not on the bench. So that would be a big thing. In terms of playing them, I always liked playing them, obviously, with the results that we got. But that 4-0 just blew me away. But the flip side of that is being worried of wounding the beast and what they're going to try and get back with a bit of revenge off the back of that. So, yeah, very mixed. Without Haaland, we've got a really good chance. And I do like the fact that we're still getting this rest. We've got another, at least 3 or 4 days rest before it. So we've got we've got one more game and then it's like a week and a half rest. Isn't that right? Or is it?
I think this is our final one, is it? Before we've got a bit of a break. We've got 10 days, haven't we, to prepare for AZ. I think I'm right in saying that. I think we have 10 days or so.
So we've got that rest coming up. So I think that we can leave it all out on the pitch.
Yep.
Very, very, very hard to call. Don't know, again, what Tottenham's going to turn up. But from what I've seen in the last 3 games, but the other thing is, you give Man City the chances that we gave Ipswich. If the first 4 or 5 minutes, we could have been out of the game. It's a tough one. I don't know which way it's going to go. I really don't.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair to say, Jamie, City are in their worst form we've actually ever seen, I think, in recent years with them under Pep Guardiola. It's fair to say also Spurs started that demise after knocking them out of the Carabao Cup in this fixture at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. What kind of City side are we coming up against? Are we coming up against a City side that are going to be willing to dig in and try and get their Premier League form back on track, or are they simply falling apart at the moment?
Well, I think they're a side that's definitely there to be got at the moment. I mean, you look at they just don't seem to have found any sort of form. I mean, you look at their back line, they just look all over the place at the moment. Obviously, saying that now, I'm sure they'll come and blow us away. But, I think it's fair to say, I mean, look, Kuzanov's come into the team and he's kind of having that adaptation period as well. He's really kind of struggled. So they've really kind of struggled to find that run of form. I mean, Rodri has just been such a big loss for them. And I just think they look all over the place at the moment. And look, I think as much as it's been such a tricky season for us, we're getting these players back and we are having that rest now. And I think that's been really big for us. And, I think it's been no surprise that we have almost looked like a completely different team with these options back, with that chance to rest. And I think you've just kind of got to go there and believe in the team. I think that we've shown kind of enough in that Ipswich game, and we've shown enough against maybe Manchester United. Yes, they were a weakened team, but so Manchester City. I mean, it'll be interesting with Erling Haaland. It looks as though he did train properly today, so he probably will be in the team. But look, I mean, as we've got to remember, when Mickey van der Ven and Christian Romero come back, these players are going to take time to come back from that injury, and probably not going to be able to come straight from the start. So let's see what happens with Haaland. That would be obviously big for them if he is back. But yeah, at the moment, that's a defence that can be got at. And, you saw that first half of SANE, you saw the cameo of James Maddison, we saw that Kulusevski goal. Lucas Bergwijn, the way that he's playing at the moment, I think we can get at them. Don't think it's, an arrogance. I just think that's the situation they're in at the moment. So for me personally, I'm quite looking forward to a Spurs game for once.
Yeah, it's interesting. I know there's a lot of, fans that are both confident. They're both at the same time realistic. The fact we're still facing a Man City side with an abundance of talent. James, for you, that if they are to be about Haaland, there's still a lot of players that can hurt us there. But do you feel the nature of that result against Liverpool at the weekend, that might take a lot out of them coming into this one? Or do you feel you might fear what could come back against us?
Yeah, I think they're going to start. They're going to start fast, which is going to be quite hard for us to deal with. We weather that storm for the first sort of 5-10 minutes, then I think that it's all open and we've got a great chance to. What I'm not looking forward to is when players like Marmoush and Haaland are on form and playing together, because I think that Marmoush he looks very dangerous.
He does.
And I think you play him with Haaland, and then you've got likes of Foden and Silva and that playing the same, it's a tough game. You just never know when they're going to click together again and go, right, this is it, and go on. And I think getting into that top four and realising that they need Champions League next season. They are going to be desperate for a result. But then again, we seem to be, for whatever reason, their bogey team. And I think they scored at the stadium up until last season. They hadn't.
Yeah, that's right. Up until the you're right, Jay. Also up until that cup fixture, they hadn't scored against us.
There's a 1-0 in the FA Cup fourth round, was it?
It was, wasn't it? Yeah.
I mean, up until then, they hadn't scored. But yeah, you just never know. And when it does happen, like for example, if you was to ask me who's going to win the league next year, I would say Man City. I think getting it together, getting their heads back together again, getting these players in. They spent quite well in January. I know a few of them have not hit the ground running, but they get to spend again in the summer. I think they get to debrief, work out what's gone wrong, and start again. I think they're going to be favourites for the league next year. So, and they need European football. They can't function without getting this at least in the top four, or top five, wherever it is. So they're going to be desperate for that. You look how close that is: 44, 44. 43, 43, 42. They are going to be very desperate for a result here. So that could work against us. And I think, like we've alluded to a little bit, I think our focus is the Europa League. So, so I guess one thing is, I mean, I'm always just an absolute sulking mess whenever we don't win. But this losing to Man City in the league when we've got the Europa League games coming up, it won't be as awful as it usually is. Like it's not like, okay, well that's it, that's over. Yeah, I think most of us have realistically written off the chances of getting Europe through the league of almost gone. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think a draw would, for the first time in a while, with them. We haven't drawn with them for a while, have we?
No, we haven't drawn in a while.
You know, with the Man United one.
Yep.
Yeah, we've. I think that's the first time we've won 3 times against them in 100 years.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a crazy.
Nobody's done the double treble.
No, that's right. It'll be really interesting to see how it does play out. I mean, Jamie, was quite interesting when Guardiola was asked about signing that new deal and how excited he was by Sky at the weekend. He seems to suggest that he isn't quite looking forward to what's to come in the imminent future. I mean, it's fair to say that they're going to need quite a big overhaul in the summer. Do you feel that's a reason why for them on Wednesday, there will be a case that they want to take this game seriously? Because as James has pointed out, when you look at the league table, it is so tight up there. And you look at the from Forest downwards, even down to Villa. I mean, it's really tight up there for the Champions League places, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think you're right. They're going to be bang up for it, and obviously it's their only focus, and that's obviously a big thing for them now. They're just fully focused on getting back in the Champions League. So yeah, that is a concern. Obviously they're over this this thing at the stadium where they just couldn't buy a win against us. So that obviously is, they've got that off their chest as well. But they're going to go and do what we should have done under Mauricio Pochettino. They're going to have obviously had that tricky period where they've done really well. Obviously they won quite a bit more than what we managed under Poch, but they're going to go and rebuild, and I'm sure next season they'll be back strong again. But yeah, I think they've obviously, and having Rodri back will be just such a big thing for them as well. Yeah. So, but this game's going to be, they're going to be bang up for it because they know what we're about. They know that they've got to be 100% to beat us. And if they've got Haaland, Marmoush, as James said, been fantastic. So they've got the attacking power. But again, I think they're a team that I don't think we should fear. I think that they're a team we can get at. We know that we're, we attacking wise, we've been superb, and it'd be a good test for Danso in defence. So yeah, I am looking forward to this game. I think it's going to be a really good matchup between two teams that are, very hit and miss at the moment.
Jay, prediction? What are you going for?
I think it's going to be a really exciting game. I'm going to go for a Spurs win. I just think that they're as I said, they're a team that can be got at. I think it's going to be 3-2 Spurs. I think it's going to be a brilliant game. I mean, that's something that I've always, why I've always loved Ange Postecoglou, as much as maybe the results have been tricky. You don't know which way it's going to go. I think you always look forward to these big games under Ange because the way that we play sometimes sets up for the other team, but sometimes it can work in our favour and exposes these big teams we've seen against the Manchester clubs this season. So obviously, as we saw against Liverpool as well, so it can work. So it's going to be really interesting. So yeah, I'm going to be fairly optimistic and go for a 3-2 win for Tottenham.
Jay, thank you so much. James, has come across to you. You said a draw there. Is that your feeling? It's a draw?
Yeah, I'm going to go for an exciting draw. I think it's going to be a great game. I'm going to go 2-2. So I'm 1 goal shorter than Jamie there. But I think I'm going to go for a 2-2. And I'll take a 2-2 actually now as well.
Reminder, James, where can they find you? For those on audio, where can they find you on Wednesday ahead of the game?
So I am at White Hart Bar, which is in the stadium, level 5, block 525, and I start at 6:30. But yeah, thanks for having me on, man. It's been brilliant.
Pleasure. Always a pleasure, mate. Thank you so much. And of course, Jamie over at the Daily Hotspur. Make sure you go and check Jay's. I think he's got his Instagram up now. That's active and running. Instagram, on X, all the latest news on Tottenham, from transfers through to the latest club news. Make sure you are following Jay across the socials. Guys, we have been the last word on Spurs. Billie T sends his love. I will say to you all, from the wonderful Jamie Brown, from the super James Black, we have been the last word on Spurs. As always, please keep safe, keep well. And as always, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.